Have you ever found yourself facing complex decisions and not sure how to make a good decision? I know I have. Making complex decisions can be a challenge, especially when you don't feel like they align with your values. But fear not, today I'm going to share with you the secret to better decision making for both individuals and leaders. We all want to make good decisions, right? But it's not always clear on how to do that. Sometimes what we value and how we value don't seem to match up. For example, we may say that we value family, yet our behaviors don't match up. As an individual, you may work long hours or put your work in front of the needs of your family. So while you may think that you value family, your behaviors show the opposite. Now let's look at this from the business leader side of things. You or your organization may say that they value family, and yet it's expected that you answer emails in the evening or on the weekends. What kind of message is this sending? The same goes for the value of honesty or trust. What happens when we hold back on discussing something that's really important to us? What if we do one thing and say another? And how can we bridge that gap and make decisions that truly reflect what we believe in and what matters most to us? Today we're delving into decision making, but with a unique twist. We're going to approach it from a scientific and measurable standpoint. This scientific discipline is known as axiology, and it's all about how we assign value and make decisions. The science of formal axiology is a tool that allows us to not only understand, but also measure and evaluate how we value and make decisions. In simpler terms, it helps us decipher why we prioritize certain things and make the decisions we do. Now let's connect the dots. By applying the science of formal axiology, we gain the ability to make decisions that are truly aligned with our core beliefs. Imagine it like steering your ship using a precise navigation system. Next, we'll look at 3 dimensions of value. The 3 dimensions of value are systemic, extrinsic, and intrinsic. The systemic level is all about black and white thinking, yes or no, right or wrong. This type of thinking and valuing has the least amount of value. However, it's where many people get stuck. When we can't agree on something like a policy or idea, we think we can't agree on anything. And while that may be true, most likely there are things we can agree on. This type of all or nothing thinking has the least measurable value. You either agree or disagree, one or the other. We call this dualistic thinking, with only 2 options, or 2 values. The extrinsic, on the other hand, deals with things like achievements and performance, products and productivity. We can measure the value of things like a good chair or car or home. That is, if we can agree on what makes it good. Keep in mind that the qualities that determine a good car will vary from one person to another. That's why it's important to agree on the attributes or factors that are needed to get everyone on the same page. But here's where the real magic happens, at the intrinsic level. The intrinsic is about recognizing the unique, immeasurable, and irreplaceable value of people and things. And when we focus on the intrinsic value, our decisions become much clearer. Usually, when we think about intrinsic worth, we think about people. Consider a time when you truly felt valued by someone, just for being you, including your quirks, your strengths, your everything. I remember a particularly low time for me, a time where I was disappointed in how I handled something and I was upset about it. My friend just showed up for me in the biggest way. My friend reminded me that I am none of that stuff. I am not my mistake, that who I am was untouched, that I am an amazing human. That feeling was powerful. I knew my friend was in my corner no matter what, ugly tears and all. Now imagine that you apply this kind of thinking and valuing as a leader or manager. I remember a story a colleague shared with me when she was dealing with a difficult issue with her family. She was speaking with her boss, and overwhelmed, she began to cry. Immediately, her boss reached out and touched her arm and said, "Whatever it is, it'll be okay. We'll get through this." The boss recognized in that moment the need to connect as humans. My colleague was so moved by this, she immediately shared her experience with me. This kind of intrinsic valuing creates a deep connection and a more compassionate and supportive environment. It's the kind of experience you never forget. And while it's great when someone intrinsically values or validates you, learning to appreciate the intrinsic value in ourselves is even more valuable. Embracing the value that we bring to the world just by being ourselves is intrinsically important. So let's bring this back to your decision making. When making a complex decision, consider the formal science of axiology, or how we value, and the hierarchy of value. Remember, we may not always agree on ideas or plans at the systemic level, the level which holds the least value. On the extrinsic level, there are lots of measurable factors and attributes to be discussed and determined. However, never forget the intrinsic and immeasurable factors. This is how something makes us feel. It's the immeasurable quality of people and things, and is often the most important and yet sometimes overlooked quality. Let's bring this into our daily lives with our family and friends and coworkers. Don't get hung up on who's right or wrong, or agrees or disagrees with you. That's the least important and has the least value. Talk to each other. Try to get the details. Learn how someone thinks, what's important to them. Ask questions about their ideas. Learn about their point of view. And lastly, don't forget that how you make them feel is most likely what they'll remember. As Maya Angelou once said, I've learned that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. By keeping in mind the science of axiology and the hierarchy of value, you may be surprised to see how it can transform your relationships in the most beautiful ways. If this resonated with you, give this video a thumbs up. And if you're ready to dive even deeper into this topic, check out the links below. And until next time, put your to-do list aside, even for a little while, and really see, hear, and value those around you, because that's where the secret to decision making happens. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.